So thank you very much for the survey. I'm going to start with the data logger section. I'm going to put in an explanation for what I think is causing the dampness and what the next steps are, if there are additional steps. So yes, essentially it's two properties, the same issue, but showing in different ways. So you've got the cold area with a solid floor to the front, and you've got it around the washing machine and the area where you're getting poor airflow to the front of lower ground floor. And this all comes from excess vapor. It's the primary cause, made worse by areas of heat loss. And I think in a rental property, you've got to help the tenants as much as possible. I think having an extractor fan in the kitchen is a key thing to do. And obviously the bathroom extractor fan, I would put in a continuous flow bathroom extractor fan. But wherever you get mold, you know you've got excess vapor, and you can't have mold where you've got groundwater, because groundwater has hygroscopic salts which inhibit the growth of mold. That's why they put nitrates. A common hygroscopic salt is calcium nitrate. That's why they put them in food. But so you know you can't have rising damp, and anyway in London you have the water's pumped out. Sorry, the groundwater contains hygroscopic salts that inhibit mold. So where you've got mold, you can't have rising damp. And obviously you've got a similar issue upstairs. Both of them have poor insulation, so the heat loss, the cold walls, exacerbates the problem, but it's not the root cause. The root cause is the excess vapor. You see the temperature was 13.2 at the time of the survey. That's the lowest temperature, so we put 13.2 as the cold zone. And I've got two data loggers for the flat, and I'm not sure which is which, but they're not going to show much difference in vapor level, because here, that's the dew point differential, so it's more or less identical. So it's useful, but it won't tell us a lot. During the period of the survey, the surface relative humidity is actually not too bad. It's around 65–70%. But of course, no one is inhabiting the flat at the moment. The dew point, which tells you how much vapor is in air, that should be below the outside temperature. And apart from this short period, it is, which is good. But as I say, the property is not being inhabited. If you have a well-ventilated property, the internal air will be replaced with external air. This is the light blue. So you'll replace internal vapor with external vapor, this light blue here. It's not far off if you compare to other graphs. Let's have a look at the upstairs bedroom. So if we compare, if we just look at the upstairs bedroom, I don't know what the temperature was at the time, but well, actually the two data loggers are in the same room. But you can see this blue line is way above the outside temperature. So you're getting far too much vapor in there. And in fact, if I just compare one of these data loggers, Jasper's room, to outside, you can see that, so anything above the 0 means there's more vapor in this room compared to the flat downstairs. Obviously, one isn't going to affect the other, but it's just interesting just to show how much vapor you've got. I mean, it's equivalent to 13 degrees centigrade. So top of my head, that's sort of about 25% relative humidity more. So for sake of argument, there's about 25% more vapor in Jasper's room compared to the flat when it's empty. Not unsurprising, but it's just an illustration of how much vapor you're getting there. So we don't know what the temperature was, but let's just assume it was 14 in the coldest part of the room. No, let's put it down to 13. And then that will show you this period of high humidity, and long periods of high humidity result in a risk of mold, and mold grows where relative humidity goes above 85% for long periods of time. Have a listen to the film. First thing I should notice or mention is that you said that you were worried that you might have rising damp.
Yeah.
And rising damp is water that comes from the groundwater. So that's water under the water table. And in London it's pumped out. Right. So you can't actually have rising damp in London.
Oh, really?
The other thing is you don't get mould in the same place that you get rising damp, because in the groundwater you have nitrates and they inhibit the growth of mould. Right. So what people mistake for rising damp is typically condensation. That's the most likely one. Mm-hmm. And then but every form of damp will be absorbed upwards. Yeah. It's just that rising damp is unique in that it can't be dealt with on an individual property basis. It's a whole area issue, so the groundwater has to be pumped out. If you pumped it out here, it would just keep filling up. So you can't do it on an individual basis. Otherwise, damp should always be treated at the source. And when it comes to condensation, it's all the things that you mentioned before, such as running dehumidifiers and extractor fans and so on. You always have a higher risk in a poorly heated area. So this is 3 sides are cold external. So you're always going to get an increased risk. You got a kitchen, and from what I can see, you don't have an extractor fan out in the kitchen. So it means that you have an added risk of mould and condensation from that. In COVID, we had many more issues of mould and condensation because respiration is the biggest source of water. We so roughly 3/4 of a litre per person per day comes from our mouths.
Oh wow!
And if you're working from home, you more or less double the amount of vapour. The other thing to mention is that when you're onto a solid floor, as you are here,
concrete underneath this,
it will be impermeable or highly impermeable. And what that means is that water can't condense, or it does condense on the floor, but it can't be absorbed and removed. So it will tend to exacerbate any condensation issues at the base of the wall. It's not a problem. The cause is the condensation, but you can reduce the risk by putting behind the skirting board. You can put a cream, a thick cream, siloxane. So everything I'm mentioning here will be picked up by AI and generate a report from it. So it just makes it just means that I don't miss anything out.
What does the cream do then?
It just reduces the absorption of water in walls. So it's not solving the problem, but it's because of if you're renting out a place, you don't have control over it. So it just reduces the absorption. And what you do is you cut. Let's say it's here. It's the base of the wall. You just cut back to brick by about 10 to 20 millimeters. It's hidden behind the skirting board, so you have to take the skirting board off, cut it back, the plaster back to brick, and then run a bead of siloxane. Dryzone is an example. And you run a relatively thick bead. Ignore what they say, because they developed the cream for rising damp, but it isn't rising damp. So you don't want to inject it into the wall, because that's not where the issue is. The issue's
on the surface.
That's right. It's the join between the floor and the wall.
Now, one thing I thought clarified that is damp, because that was there and that's gone mouldy, and you can see where it's blistered, where the board was.
Well, the reason why is because
lack of airflow, isn't it?
Exactly. It's the vapour will get through, but the heat won't get through, because the timber is it's doing two things actually. It's both both stopping the airflow behind, it's also insulating it. So I'll take these off.
UMPs, is that a better?
All forms of water rise through absorption.
Yes.
But unless there's something below, then the water is mainly pulled down through gravity.
Yes.
So if you put kitchen towel into a sink,
yes,
the water will rise up.
And then it will go down when it dries out.
And it will go down when it dries out. But were you to put water in the centre of that towel, then most of the water will be drawn down through gravity, and only a little bit will rise up. But it's because there's something underneath that blocks the fall that causes it to rise more. Well, that in the case of rising damp is from groundwater. So groundwater is the water under the water table, and in London it's actively pumped out to stop tube systems and underground car parks from flooding.
Oh my God!
It's pumped out about 100 metres below ground. You know, the equivalent of skyscraper. So the chance of having rising damp is zero in London. And what makes rising damp unique and different to all the other forms of damp is you can't deal with it on an individual property basis.
Yeah.
So that's why. You can't deal with the source, and you have to deal with the symptoms. In all the other cases, you deal with the source. So if it's a cracked gutter, a cracked underground drain, then you should deal with the underground drain. You shouldn't just try and block the rise of water from the...
No, of course you can't if you do that.
As much as anything else, you could end up having subsidence because it's uneven, it's in just one spot.
Yes,
Whereas rising damp is across the whole thing, there's no unevenness, so you're not going to end up having subsidence. So the four forms of damp are rainwater causing penetrating damp, mains water causing leaks, wastewater, mains water leaks, condensation, which is by far the most common, and I would say it's roughly 80% is really the key thing, and almost every property it's at least a factor.
Yes.
Less so in summertime, and then groundwater. But there is an additional one called hygroscopic salts, which come from the historic burning of coal.
Oh yeah.
And what's different about them is they're actually not a source of water. So it's the coal. It causes a form of condensation known as deliquescence, and you don't need to get rid of it. You just need to cover it. So anyway, that's the explanation for why rising damp you don't get in London.
So in this theory, with this, is it just a matter?
This would be condensation. From you haven't got an extractor fan in the kitchen.
No. But we had a real issue because the tenants didn't realise they could open the window. They thought it was.
They thought they were painted shut.
And.
Well, I think that's an excuse, don't you?
Yeah.
I mean, so
I'm so angry with them.
Basically, tenants don't see damp and mould as their problem. They see that as the landlord's problem.
Yes.
They see that their cost is energy, and they won't open the windows because they see that as their
bills included. So there's no reason.
Bills included.
Yeah.
Oh well, there you go. So that.
So they.
Well, it probably just says more about. So I also think that there's a change in mindset when you own a property. You know, you
responsibility.
Change your responsibility. As a lot of tenants, you know, they're relatively young and they just don't necessarily know how to deal with it. It's not malice or anything. It's just ignorance.
Ignorance. So would it just be a matter of just scraping off?
Well, we'll go through everything anyway. But in terms of mould spores are omnipresent, so they're everywhere in the world, just looking for the right climate to...
Yes.
Once you've got them, you get a much higher concentration of mould, so you need to keep on top of it and make it a tenant responsibility to do that. I mean, you've got it in the contract, but, you know...
Yeah, we've got to maintain it.
People don't actually follow the contract. But you see, you're getting mould growing in between the grouts, or in the grout, should I say. down there, around there. So mold grows where relative humidity goes above 85% for long periods of time.
Right.
Relative humidity is both caused by high vapour levels, and we'll look at that. So at the moment your vapour is showing 9 degrees centigrade. We'll look at that later. And it's also temperature.
We haven't had
And-
people in here cooking for food for a couple of weeks.
I know.
And also the door's been open quite a bit. So
Okay, in any vacant property, you should be running a dehumidifier. And I see you've got a dehumidifier here, but it's full.
Yeah.
So the way to deal with it is they should have a drain on it, and you just have it sitting on the
that's
on the
true. We
kitchen
have
sink,
water tubes somewhere.
and just have it constantly draining out.
Yeah.
So a lot of the properties I deal with. So this year there's been a lot of issues with landlords trying to sell properties,
Yes.
and in some cases it's taken a year. In the last 3 months, last month, I had 3 properties which were left vacant for a year because the sales had collapsed because of damp or other things, but the sales had collapsed, and they were left vacant with no heating, no dehumidification, and you'll just end up with condensation and mould.
Yeah.
And so it's something, as we're moving into, I suppose any time of year in the UK you get high humidity on the outside. So what will happen is when it's raining outside or it's humid outside, the air outside can easily be warmer than the air inside, and that vapour will come in and it will condense on the walls and it will cause condensation and mould.
Right. I mean, we generally have a dehumidifier in there to dry, that helps dry the clothes. See, they're little ones.
Well, I'll give you lots of practical stats, but I mean, one of them would be to consider insulating some of the areas, because insulation is not instead of vapour management, but in a rental property, sometimes you just need to give a little bit more assistance. Because obviously it's to do with the surface temperature, and insulation will improve the surface temperature. But if you're not heating the place, insulation won't make all the difference, if you see what I mean.
Yeah. Well, this part of the house here doesn't have a radiator or any heat.
This kitchen doesn't.
Yeah, I imagine
Yes,
it's
the house
very cold.
does, but
Well, and you're also getting rot in the timber.
Oh, the window, yeah.
It's window rot.
I'll
Shows the areas of heat loss. You've got a lot of heat loss down there because of the air brick.
yeah,
So what is actually happening, in my opinion, and I
yeah,
haven't inspected it closely, but it's you're getting condensation there because it's cold. It's showing 14.6 degrees compared to 16 there.
Yeah.
So 2 degrees centigrade will increase the surface relative humidity by roughly 10%. So you could go from 90% to 100% and have condensation there. But and I'll have a closer look. But if you've got penetrating damp, if you've got water passing through building material, you would expect to see a brown stain.
yeah,
You know how on the ceilings you
yeah.
see brown stain,
yeah.
and that's because it picks up the pigmentation. So a brick is obviously clay, and clay it used to be used for painting, for pigmentation. So if water passes through building material, it will normally have a brown stain.
Yeah.
If it's surface, it's not actually
Oh,
passing through, it's just on the surface.
Okay.
So that is more likely to be from the air brick causing heat loss.
Yeah.
There you see that temperature is going down to 13 degrees centigrade there.
Yeah.
And that's means that you're going to get extra humidity.
Yeah.
And you get heat loss in the corners. I'll give this to you anyway, I'm recording it.
Yeah.
And then down at the bottom it's going down to 13.2 at one stage. So, and then obviously the single glaze, well, it's not showing that cold at the moment, but it would be.
Yeah.
So it's actually, funnily enough, if I were to look outside, I'll probably find that it's warmer outside. And it isn't, it's 12, but it's actually it's relatively cold at the moment. But you'll find times of day when it's warmer outside,
Yeah.
and but it may be raining, and the vapor from that will find somewhere cold inside to condense and cause mold. We'll test it and just see how reactive it is. But humidistats, if you're relying on a humidistat alone, I don't think it's sufficient. I rent out a place, or I have rented out places, and I would always recommend what's called a continuous flow bathroom extractor fan, which is one that's constantly blowing out, but relatively slowly, with a boost function, so that if the light's switched on, or it senses humidity, it increases the flow rate. The other thing I would do, and I can see the bath door is a bit of a challenge. You need them to keep the bathroom door closed so that the vapor goes that way. Because I would guess if the door's open and the shower's on, it's not going to react. You
got a point there, yeah. It's just that we had another one that's connected to the lights, but also had a separate switch. We found out tenants just turned it off and it remained on for a time.
Yeah,
so
you don't want to have that either.
No.
So I would put in a continuous flow bathroom extractor fan here. Although you've got rigid ducting, which is great, really good, it is some distance and it's got an angle in it. You'll get insufficient. You may get insufficient flow anyway. So it's anyway good practice in lower ground floor. So I think one of these three reasons you should have continuous flow. So either tenanted property, which it is, lower ground floor, and with a damp issue, and you've got all three of those. So for that reason, I would have continuous flow. Ventaxia do one, and you can find it on Screwfix. I think it's like £150. And you may be able to just swap it out. It's relative. I imagine you're quite proficient, practical. You could probably just swap it out yourself if the electrics are working. Can't test the vent speed with this one, but I suspect it wouldn't. Oh, do you see that you've got the spider's webs there? Which tells me that it hasn't been running for a while. But do you see how you've got a bit of dust collecting on these? That will slow it down, and I find dust and dirt can slow it down by about 50%.
Really?
Over the course of maybe like I don't know, 5 years or something. So what I say to people is just do it, make it part of an annual check, and just open it up, and you can normally. You either have to unscrew the whole thing and take it out, or a lot of them you can just take it out from the centre and just clean it up and just keep a check. Also, if it's got a backflow shutter, I wouldn't have that installed because they are often counterproductive. Instead, you want to have flaps at the back outside. I'll have a look to see what you've got, but that will stop the air from blowing back in. So that's the purpose of the black backflow shutter. They also get often set to the lower speed and the shortest overrun, and I would change that to the longest speed and the longest overrun. But have the humidity setting, if you have a choice, to about 60%. This air brick is no longer required. It was there when it has subfloor ventilation, but you now have a solid floor.
The floor there is actually wooden.
Oh, is it? Underneath
underneath the carpet. It's just that section there.
Oh, it's just the front section that's solid. Okay. In which case you do need it. But it's a reason why you're getting heat loss just there. So obviously the primary concern is the condensation, but you can just put some insulation around it. I'll show you different forms of insulation.
Okay, cool.
You've got a plinth at the base of the wall, which is great. You've got a slight fillet of cement. I mean, ideally, So there looks like there's a bit of a gap at the base, but because the water is running down this way, I think you're probably fine. But ideally, you don't see any gap at the base of the wall. It's just, it goes from a wall to the solid concrete with a fillet of cement just to stop the water going in. But I don't think it's going to come in through them.
Yeah.
It looks in reasonable condition. Yeah. Painted walls are not ideal because what happens is water can find its way through cracks and it can't then evaporate out and it therefore goes in, but it looks to be in pretty good condition. So this looks like a very impermeable paint and it's onto a permeable brick.
Yeah. Yeah.
These flaps from the outlet, notice that I mean it's a relatively small thing, but that doesn't need to be there. That can just be taken off.
Oh, right.
That's so it's so that you can do it for both square ones and round ones, and just do this. Can just push that in like that. That gives it marginally more airflow.
Yeah, I'll get that.
Same for the bottom. Yeah. I mean, it's not going to make a huge difference, but every little bit. Fans have a little flap at the back of the fan, and it's called a backflow shutter. It stops the air blowing back in.
Yeah.
When you've got one of these, you don't need one of those.
Yeah.
And the problem with those backflow shutters is they can get stuck quite easily and then force the fan close, and it's just an extra thing in the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Big fan of passive vents, but this one, it looks fairly blocked up and painted, and so you're not really, the bad thing about passive vents is you don't really get the benefit of them unless there's wind outside. So I quite often find mold and condensation around passive vents.
Oh, right.
The best thing is a mechanical vent that's used.
Yeah.
And looking at data loggers, let's have a look at those now. So that's now, they're now calibrated. There'll be small changes, but what I get you to do is, so first thing, do you see that dew point there? That tells you how much vapour's in air.
Yeah.
Expresses degrees centigrade.
Yeah.
And we can look at the dew point differential, so comparing the dew point in one room compared to another one, that tells us that there's more vapour in one part compared to another part. I wouldn't have two in Jasper's room, but maybe one outside, one inside. And it's a good way of demonstrating to him there's a lot of vapour in his room and he needs to get rid of it. And the way of doing that is by ventilation or dehumidification. So if you press one of the green numbers, any of them, that synchronises for that particular data logger and it's drawing the data down. It's all stored on the data logger, and then I'll get you to send it to me. Press the calculator sign now. If you press the export sign, and either of these, but the quickest one is the export CSV normally, and then send it to myself, simon@dampsurveys.com. It onto an AI system, and then that then generates a graph, and it's visual at the moment, and you can then compare different data loggers. And so you could compare it here to the property upstairs, and so that's one thing. There's the other one is what's called the surface relative humidity. So that's taking into account the temperature of the surface. I've done it at the time of the survey, but you can go back and measure the temperature at another time, and that tells you if you're running a risk of mold and condensation, because you can see when it's high surface relative humidity.
How easy is it to change batteries of these?
Oh, they're quite easy. The batteries last a year. The data lasts about 3 months. So you can reset the data on here. Yeah. But these you can just put your finger or whatever in, or a screwdriver in there to flip it open. It's you'll see the battery type. I've probably got it. This is professional surveyor type damp meter, and the damp proofing companies tend to use them. They tend to use the prongs. which do so. This it's actually more for condensation, but anyway, they can't tell you where the dampness comes from. They can't tell you the type of dampness, but they're pretty good at indicating if something is damp. They can't differentiate. I mean, I think they can't differentiate between different types of. So this group, for instance, goes 100% because this uses radio waves, and this is the type that I recommend using.
Yeah.
And the good thing about this is that you can tell whether a wall is drying out.
Yeah.
So this will be down here. I would say it's more or less entirely caused by this. And so airflow in insulation will reduce the risk, but the source is always the excess vapour. And excess vapour is defined as when the internal dew point's above the outside temperature. So you can see the dew point on there. I think the outside temperature is 12 at the moment because we saw. So it is below at the moment, but it's what happens at night when it's cold outside. So this is obviously showing high dampness on this meter, and it all comes from condensation.
Right. Okay.
If you can see the condensation dribble marks there in the mould, and as I say, mould can't grow when you have rising damp. So the other thing is that if you had rising damp, you'd have consistently high. So it'd be consistent. It'd be the same level. So if you've ever seen a property that's been flooded, so you can see the bands of dampness. That would be the same with rising damp. It would just be even throughout.
Right. Okay.
Because it comes from an uneven source, and the even source is the groundwater, the table water, and you're getting mould here.
Right.
So anyway, that isn't rising damp. It's just condensation and mould caused by excess vapour made worse by the air brick. You can't change the air brick, as you say. You've got a suspended timber floor, so you need an air brick. But it's the explanation. And I would even consider putting some insulation around here. Different examples of insulation. So this is the really expensive type. This vapor permeable, and ideally you have a vapor permeable insulation, so it allows the air to be absorbed and released. It doesn't matter for small areas, bigger areas is better, especially when you're above timber, because what can happen is when you put insulation on, what would have been a warmer wall is now colder because you're insulating the heat from it. So it's so you run a risk of water forming within the wall and dripping down onto the timber, causing rot. So large stretches of wall you shouldn't have, but this is quite expensive. So a normal, I'll show you. So this is Celotex. It's on its edge. I just cut it down for size. But this is Celotex. So this doesn't allow airflow, so it doesn't absorb water. But this costs roughly 10 times this amount. But if you're doing small sections, it doesn't matter. What I do is a hybrid version in my own property, where I have this at the base of the wall, and then this higher up. This is really inexpensive. So this costs like £20 for 20 sheets. This is wood fibre, and it's used as a underlay under timber floor.
So would you that screw that to the wall with a plaster?
No, I typically glue it. Where I'd use it, because it doesn't look particularly pretty, where I'd use it is in cupboards, hidden behind cupboards, jammed in behind cupboards, that sort of thing. There's also thermal lining paper, which just gives you a little bit of extra. But you might, so one of these sheets costs about 80 or £90 for.
But with this sheet, do you put it? Would you screw that on and then paint over it? Or would
no, well you can screw it, yes. Although you're obviously losing some insulation through the screws, but you are best to adhere it. Follow the instructions, but blue grit, and then you can plaster over it, or you can paint straight onto it if it's a small area. So I've got a client where they have an area is an old chimney breast, and they've got lots of heat loss in there, and they're just going to put this in and paint onto it. So small. So I mean, often with these things, it's the cost of getting the plasterer and you know the builder that's more than the actual insulation, but that is quite an expensive one. PIR. So this is like Celotex is a brand name.
Yeah.
It's PIR is a polyurethane. And this is a good insulation. So this is a better insulation, but you know you get an equivalence between that and that.
Yeah.
But that's 10 times the amount. But
so
this
in this kind of space there, that does need insulation, doesn't it?
it's definitely worth insulation here. I might you because it's on a solid floor, you don't need to worry about the effect of what's called interstitial condensation, which is where condensation is forming within the wall. And you could just get some of this. You can get lots of different thicknesses. I think this is 55 mil, but I mean, if you could do like 30 mil or something, and just around there and there.
And then do you then stick that on the glue then?
Yeah.
Plaster it?
Yes, or you can get thermal insulating plasterboard, which is basically plasterboard with this on it, so it's glued onto it already, and you just put it on. And if it's small areas and there's no seams, then you don't necessarily need plaster, just like normal plasterboard.
Okay. So can you just paint it then, or do you need to?
You can paint it.
Coat?
Yeah. You still need to have you still need to have a mist coat. You could probably get away with it what a lot of people do nowadays, Americans are doing it a lot, is let's see if I can remember the name, but basically you're filling in the gaps with filler, tape and filler, and then sanding it, and then painting straight onto that rather than having the skim. And in a small area, it's quite easy to do that.
Yeah.
Tex North, Kingspan.
But all those brands will be in the report, won't it?
It's picking up everything I say here. So,
okay.
So, and also you have all the film. So above solid floor, you might just get one of the. They're relatively hard to get hold of. Procter make it, and it's called SpaceTherm.
Yeah.
Because of the issue of this gap here, and I would probably make a feature out of it and use the same Celotex or similar to just give it insulation under here, because you're always going to get poor airflow into this area here.
Yeah. So block that, and maybe put a dado rail across here or something, so you just go to that kind of height. Yeah. Okay, cool.
I mean, where you've got the damp it gives you an idea of where you're getting the risks. So so this is obviously, this board isn't helping, but also it's in the corner, so you've got poor heat, and maybe having this some vapor would come out of the back of this. And also having the tiles. I mean, it's not a reason for not having the tiles, but it stops the vapor coming out, so you get a slight build-up of vapor. It's an explanation for why you have it there. So you will get it on furniture and clothing more, because they're marginally hygroscopic, and they causes some increase surface relative humidity. You'll get it around wiring, because wiring is causing localized heat loss. A typical thing. You want to try and bring sofas away from the wall, so you've got airflow. Is a constant problem, and also you've got your cold water pipe. So there's always a case for having insulation around external walls. Is that is that external? Oh no, that's your party wall.
Internal. That's party wall. Yeah.
But
oh, there's a bit of
again, we've got mould. It's a bit discoloured there, but I think that's spillage rather than anything coming through. It's on the side of the timber, which is obviously not outside. This is dry line, so you've just got plasterboard.
Right.
So it's not, you're not actually seeing the wall here,
No.
but it's getting mould on it. So I would put insulation there.
Okay. Yeah.
You won't lose much space.
Yeah.
Thing to know is that it's to do with excess vapour, which the dew point will tell you,
Yeah.
and low temperature. And the low temperature is caused by A, poor insulation, B, poor air circulation, and C, insufficient heat. And what a lot of properties suffer from, well, the government during the energy crisis, the first energy crisis, about to enter into another one.
There's so many of them, really.
But the government were advising people to turn the heat down in rooms, but actually that's terrible from a damp point of view, because you've got the same vapour, but you've got low temperature and you end up having mould and condensation.
Yeah.
But it cupboards have this
Shall we do
particular.
Justice bedroom next then?
Yeah. The salts that you're seeing here are calcium sulfate. They come from the plaster itself. Plaster is mainly of calcium sulfate.
Yeah.
They're benign. You don't need to worry about them. You
Okay.
just sandpaper them.
Yeah.
As the salts come to the surface, they crystallise, and that just causes the paint to damage,
Bubble.
to bubble.
Yeah.
It's relatively dry, so I think that's fine now. Up there it's a lot colder, and the reason why is that you poor airflow, but also it's got a slight eave. It's slightly eaved there.
All right.
Well, it looks to me like it is. It's going down. Well, it's 16.6, so that's not too bad. If you remember downstairs, we were going to 13.
Yeah.
So it's a relative thing. But I would say it's airflow that's the primary issue, and obviously you've got four sides that are external, so that's obviously external as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's always going to be.
Like I sealed up that air brick just to get a bit of, because it's getting quite cold. It's quite drafty from there.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was a good thing or a bad thing to do, but.
Well, I'm not a big believer in passive vents, but at least with a passive vent you've got some ventilation.
Yeah.
You do need to have ventilation. I mean, respiration is the biggest source of vapour, so we breathe out 750 mil a day. Each human contributes about 2 litres per day. So from washing, showering and cooking, and it's that combination. But I'll have a look downstairs now to see, have you got extractor fan in the kitchen?
Yeah, we have. Yeah.
There's always a case for insulation,
Yeah.
but it's expensive. You can do external wall insulation, EWI, but and obviously, so one of the simplest ones you can use is thermal lining paper. It won't give you as much protection or insulation as other forms, but it doesn't take a lot of space away, and it's relatively easy to put in.
Yeah.
So it's just like normal. It's just like wallpaper almost. It's a slightly thicker version of wallpaper. Rock wool is an example, and you want to follow their directions and use their adhesives as well. It's not working at the moment, so it's relatively humid in here. Feels relatively humid. So if you flip, here we go. It's very blocked up, and just like an old toothbrush and a vacuum cleaner will get rid of that. I've turned up the timer so that it should be now half an hour, and the humidistat setting should be about 60 there. So that should work better now.
Okay.
Just to say that downstairs, it isn't rising down. We went through all the reasons for that. You've got calcium sulfate salts, which just come from the plaster itself. They're benign. They don't cause any problems. Sandpaper them off. If you're going straight to plaster, you want to use a mist coat, 50-50 water and paint.
Yes.
To dilute it.
So basically, because you're scraping it off, you might go back to plaster.
To plaster, exactly.
Yeah, seal it.
To give it adhesion.
Yes. So basically, well, actually, our painting decorator knows all of that.
Yeah.
Stuff,
So mould, use HG, which I see you've got upstairs. So you use HG to get rid of the mould.
Just the mould, HG.
Yeah.
What is
HG.
it?
Oh, it's just a normal
Anti-mould.
brand.
Yeah, it's just a
very
brand.
good.
All right. Okay.
So data loggers are really going to help you. So I show you it in the first instance, and then you can use it yourselves.
Yeah.
There's a website called damp.ai/detect, and you can just upload the data onto there, data loggers onto them.
Damp.ai
/detect. I'll show you that anyway. So
Yeah.
so I'm going to send you a film in
Yeah.
about a week's time with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just going to be raw footage,
Yes.
unedited, and then I use the transcription. I use AI heavily nowadays. Transcription that generates a report that I then can edit the report.
Yeah.
So the AI is generating the report from all my previous reports.
So that's because you're using the transcribing tool. Do you mind me asking what transcribing?
YouTube. It does its
YouTube does it,
automated
Can you
transcription.
just does it have to be a visual thing, or can it just do an auditory thing?
It's auditory. It's not visual. It's auditory.
Oh my god! So YouTube will do
Yeah,
it.
it's what most people do nowadays.
YouTube, thank you. Because I've got some recordings of people interviews, and I was thinking about how to do that.
There you go. So, it's often worth putting it through AI software afterwards, just to make sense of,
yeah,
to
because
improve
it because it takes out various like ums and ahs and all that stuff. So
Yeah,
it puts
yeah.
things into categories.
There's a case for insulation downstairs, and we went through all of that. Really, the bathroom extractor fan isn't working. Neither of your bathroom extractor fans are working. The one upstairs needs cleaning anyway because it's
Right.
That's embarrassing, actually.
you will hardly get any airflow through that. So one downstairs, I will replace it with a continuous flow bathroom extractor fan.
Oh, maximum speed and maximum time.
Yes, and I would leave data loggers going forward down there. The battery lasts a year, but you have to update. You have to reset the. You'll see it when you go into the name. Press the name, and you have a
So
reset
on the
function.
report would say what levels are problematic and what levels are okay.
So simple rule is keep the dew point below the outside temperature.
Right.
Dew point being a measure of the amount of vapour in air. It's also the temperature where condensation takes place at.
Yeah.
That's the simple rule, but you can be more nuanced.
Yeah.
You know, it's unusual for people to be able to keep it below all the time. But in a perfectly ventilated property where you're replacing internal air with external air, the external air will never have a dew point above the outside temperature because otherwise it would rain, and rain is a form of condensation.
Oh, right. Okay.
So and then upstairs, I think it's very similar with your son's room.
Just getting the damp from the bathroom.
Yeah, I removed the damp from the bathroom, but there's no ventilation in the bedroom, so there's a case for opening the door every so often.
Are you still alive?
And I've got a 21-year-old, and there is a case for insulation, but it starts to become relatively expensive. That you can use thermal lining paper as a cheaper version.
But we thought we might do something like that.
Yeah. But,
Yeah.
okay, so other things I'll add to it, but nothing major to worry about.
Yeah.
The damp proofing treatment isn't instead of what I'm recommending.
Yes.
It would have made no. In fact, it makes it worse. The reason why it makes it worse is they're replacing normal plaster with impermeable plaster, which has a slightly poorer insulation, so you get increased mold and condensation. When there's a lot of people damp proof their properties and suddenly they're getting mold when they weren't getting it before.
No, that's so interesting.
So it was not instead. So
Yeah, good thinking.
So it's clear the issue is insufficient ventilation in the flat downstairs and arguably upstairs into the main part of the house, and made worse by zones of heat loss and cold walls. But the primary issue is the ventilation, so you need to deal with that. And I would keep a data logger downstairs in the flat and just monitor what's happening. Keep in touch with your tenants and possibly insulate some areas.